All right, let's get going on this edition of the Public Square, everyone. Welcome. I'm Wayne Shepherd with Dave Zanotti, and Melanie Elsey is here. Rob Walgate, Alan C. Duncan, our producer. And who is the young lady sitting next to you, Dave?
We have some news today, Wayne, and really looking forward. This has been a conversation that has been going on since 2009. It's taken us a while to figure out how to get started, obviously, and to find the right people. And some of those people were actually growing up and in college and graduating and getting jobs. And now we have a team assembled to start something we've been waiting for a long time. It's called Kids on the Square.
Cool. Kids on the Square. I like that.
Kids on the Square. And joining us today is Sarah Jackson, who is actually, along with her husband, Jonah, going to be running this project called Kids on the Square. And we are very excited. So, Sarah, congratulations.
Hi. Wow, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's not like you didn't know this was coming for a while. It just took us a long time to get our stuff together, be able to launch. And so we're so happy that you are here and that you and Jonah are here. Sarah and Jonah are uniquely qualified to work with kids because that's what they do. That's how they trained in their collegiate studies. They happen to have tremendous backgrounds in acting, in musical theater, in communications, and in several other realms that would be necessary, education to work with kids. And they've been working with kids for quite some time. You've had a company called Acting All Around.
That's right. Yeah. That's in Nashville, Tennessee, more specifically Nolensville. And it's a children's theater company where we produce, write, direct, and do all our own shows with different ages from 6 and up. So we work with really, really little kiddos to kids who are about to go to college. So we do it all.
How long have you been in theater?
Oh, since I was 5.
But you're only 12.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you. Yes. But no, I got into theater. I saw a production, and I remember running up to my mom, or at least this is how the story is told. All right. But running up to my mom, and I said, wow, I want to do that. And she goes, well, you have to learn how to read first. And that was what prompted me to want to learn how to read. So it's been a wonderful source of creativity, but also learning for my whole life. So, and I hope that can be instilled in what we're producing and creating today.
And how about your co-producer on this, your husband, Jonah? How long has he been in theater?
Oh, well, we all joke, but his first role was pretty epic. It was baby Jesus in the manger. So,
boy, it's all downhill from there.
It is. That's a tough role to, try to ever compare, but that's where he started. And who knew baby Jesus was really a little redhead all along?
So, now, didn't he also have a stint on Reading Rainbow somewhere along the line?
Oh, yeah. So that was a big deal. He entered a competition and wrote we have the video clip, so maybe we can even, if we're lucky, splice some in. But it's pretty epic.
You got to send me that.
Yeah, I will have to send you that. Mm-hmm.
I was just getting ready to say video or you're lying, but
yeah.
Video is here.
It is my rainy day video. But he entered a competition, and he wrote a children's book, and it was about a dinosaur and his day at the beach. And the Reading Rainbow at the time, it was a Nashville Public Television episode, and they filmed it in Nashville, and they asked him to come in and read his story. And the best thing is he had practiced, he was prepared, he was very, very engaged. The person who wrote his little slides typed in some of the words incorrectly. He changed the sentences. So you'll see on his face the moment where the person who typed these words did not get it correctly.
At 5, he's correcting the teleprompter.
At 5, he was correcting the teleprompter. Yes.
I'm Jonah Jackson, and the name of my story is called Joe the Dinosaur's Day at the Beach. One sunny day, Joe the dinosaur decided to go to the beach. He grabbed his bathing suit, his sunglasses, and his beach bag and started off for the beach. In no time at all, he was swimming at the beach. When the people saw Joe, they couldn't believe it. All the grown-ups ran away. The kids wanted to play with Joe. He let him slide down his back into the water. They said this is the best water slide we ever had. At the end of the day, Joe was really tired, but he was happy because he made all kinds of new friends. The end.
Now, Wayne, you've seen Sarah and Jonah are on Christmas in America
I have,
for a number of
very
years
talented. My goodness.
because of the fact that they're centered and headquartered in Nashville, and we have an office in Nashville, and Christmas in America every year premieres in Nashville every Thanksgiving weekend. And what a delight that has become. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But we want to let everyone know that's listening to the Public Square that the drive behind this isn't just to create more product. You know, people say content's king, so now we've got to have more content. No, it's coming from a need that we have been really experiencing since the very beginning of this work in 1980, which is that parents need help. And it doesn't matter whether you're homeschooling, whether you're in public school, whether you're in private school, whether you're grandparents or parents. The fact is that if you feel a sense of responsibility to the next generation, you need tools to help.
Sure.
And particularly when it comes to American history and the integrated reality between what does the Bible teach and what did the founders believe, and how have we worked that out for centuries now here in this country. And it's not easy to find. In fact, I think it gets a little less easy every year. I mean, we all have kids and or kids and grandkids. And so, you know, when you start looking for children's books, like just go try to find a book on George Washington that you're comfortable with. Now, they are out there. If you look hard enough, you'll find them. But it's not easy. I mean, Melanie, you've been involved in the homeschool movement for longer than we're allowed to say out loud.
This is true.
Materials have always been very important for parents.
Yeah, they have been. And back in the day, when there was no internet, it was really word of mouth and people sharing physical materials with one another. Now that the internet has expanded the horizon, so to speak, for parents and materials, it's not hard to find materials, but it's hard to find the good and the right materials.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're concerned about is that in the home, in the earbuds, on the screens, whatever it is, whatever mechanism of delivery or connection that you've got, that parents have tools that they feel safe that their kids can listen to and view and participate in and say, wow, we're learning something here that we believe in. This matches up with both the history we understand and our faith. Alan, parent of two sons coming up, where do you guys go for stuff? I mean, you got to find, you're right, it's tough.
Sure. This is something we've talked about on the broadcast before, but a lot of times it's older books that you go to, which sounds weird because we're launching a new program series, but we're citing original source documents within that, and we're going to go back to the older documents to bring it forth into the new. So I think books that are printed in the 60s, or even earlier, is a good place to go to.
Now, if you're interested in G.K. Chesterton and C.S. Lewis, Alan has an excellent audio book that's actually on the Public Square phone app. Now, you say, well, you guys are, what are you, huckstering product here on top of these stations? No, because when you go there, it's free. Right? When you go to the Public Square phone app, what you'll find is a book called Gilbert and Jack. Now, it is a dynamic presentation and from a unique angle. Now, here's the kind of product that we create. Alan and his dad went to the library in Chicago.
The Wade Center at Wheaton College.
And there they went through a bunch of the library of C.S. Lewis, right?
Yeah, C.S. Lewis they house a bunch of C.S. Lewis's books that he owned and he annotated and wrote in. And so a lot of those were books written by G.K. Chesterton. And so we got to take a look at those handwritten annotations. It's just like reading over somebody's shoulder.
Well, it's almost like it was like a mystery. They decided the premise of their research was, let's go look at C.S. Lewis's books, his Chesterton library, and see what he wrote about what he was reading. Now, how cool is that?
Really cool. It's fantastic. And you're right about the production that Alan did. Alan, I've told you this, I think it's deserving of some awards. It really is well done.
Oh, that means a lot, Wayne. Thank you.
And so that's another book, by the way, that we're intending to publish. And then so what's going to end up happening is now Alan and his dad did the original research. It's a brilliant premise, and they pulled it off. It was there. They went looking on the hope that they would be able to learn more about what Lewis was thinking about Chesterton, and they found it.
Yeah.
and it's substantive.
Yeah, I drive by the Wade Center all the time, but they don't let me in. I think you have to pass an intellectual test or something to get in there.
No, just schedule your time slot. That's all.
Okay, all right.
You got to go and you'll love it. You'll love it.
Yeah, it looks a little intimidating to me, but you fared well.
So what I think will be fun is to watch how a product like that one works its way the whole way to Kids on the Square.
Ooh, I like that idea. See, I didn't know where you were going with this. I was totally unprepared to talk about this.
There you go. So you see how one product moves to the next, and then it's a tool in parents' hands. So the parents can listen to Alan's book, read Alan's book, but then we can basically construct that product over again.
And that's absolutely the mission of it. There's lots of content, and we hope to only promote great content like that. But I, growing up in this community, often would listen to the Public Square with my parents. And I think it would be just so cool to have similar topics, similar messages, and have it just be more approachable. They're already listening to it in the car, most likely. So let's also bring something to them that will reach them as well.
And I think the primary question that we have here is a question of relevancy. Now, we need to go to a break, I know, but we've got to talk about the question of relevancy and why is it that you would want to have this kind of content coming to children, and how does that connect with the concept of a faith walk? Because what so many times happens is kids will go to church, but the grown-up talk is not a part that they're a part of. And so, in essence, we retard the adolescent period. It continues. We expand the adolescent period and slow down, if you will, the adult side of the thing. But there's also a theological ramification in all of that. Because what we're telling kids is that the God they're learning about is not necessarily connected to today's news or is not necessarily connected to the history. Now, they may have flannel graphs about ancient Israel or about church history in the early church. But where does that connect with the nation that they live in and the time period that they live in? And so that's really where we're trying to go to, is to seam together the question of relevance. And where does that relevance come from? It comes from the reality that Jesus Christ says, all authority in heaven and earth has been given unto me. And all means all.
Yeah. But parents aren't going to get that message and support from the culture anymore. They're going to have to go looking for it. And I'm so glad they learned about this. We're going to continue talking about Kids on the Square on the Public Square today. And of course, you'll find us online at thepublicsquare.com.
We'll be right back for more on the Public Square.
It's wild to think where the world would be without any light.
Yeah, without light, no plants, no food, essentially, light is the key to it all.
Whoa, my salad is just one big flashlight. But it's even bigger than just science. Jesus said you are the light of the world.
Or how about this? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Bum, bum,
this
bum,
little
bum.
light of mine,
You got it
I'm
now.
gonna let it shine.
Bum, bum, bum,
This
bum.
little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Kids on the Square, our topic on the Public Square today. Boy, this is interesting. I love to learn about this. So let's delve a little deeper here, Dave.
Wayne, there's all kinds of products that are available to people that I don't know that folks are really aware of. The Public Square website, as well as the Public Square phone app, also includes an entire section called Hymns on the Square, where people ask us all the time, where do you get the music that you get? Well, a lot of that music comes from original artists in Nashville who create that music with us when we're doing projects like Christmas in America and other products that are created all throughout the year. And we post those at Hymns on the Square. So it's like a secret devotional space for people who find music helpful in their spiritual journeys. whether it's to uplift them in a time of need or to help them in their private devotions and their quiet time, or just to share with others when there's a genuine need for encouragement or inspiration. Hymns on the Square is there, and a lot of that music is completely proprietary and unique. And once again, it's free. What you find about what we do is we believe in the concept that freely you have received, freely give. You say, well, now, wait a minute, somebody's got to pay for that, right? Well, yes, the people who use it pay for it. And what's remarkable, Wayne, is once they know there's a need, they very quickly respond because they're really, really kind people who are listening to the Holy Spirit. And they care about providing for ministry. But you don't have to beat anybody over the head or send them 1,400 letters or something to ask them, because they're ready. They're more than happy to help. So we put these things forth free, trusting that listeners will respond and people who are helped will respond. And they have for 43 years, they have. So Hymns on the Square is another place you can go. But let's get back to Kids on the Square. Kids on the Square is going to premiere with its first 3 broadcasts over the next several months.
Yes.
Now, we've given you a good runway as far as how long it'll take to get the production done, because because we know your standards are high. But we're going to start, I think, at Christmas in America this year.
Absolutely. I mean, in line with the whole mission, we start with Christmas. So we had to start with Christmas with Kids on the Square as well.
Yeah, isn't that cool? We start with Christmas.
So what form is this going to take?
Well, it's going to take a couple forms, but primarily radio for lots of different reasons, but that is our bread and butter here. But also, I think it's really important storytelling to use your ears to listen, to get off those screens. It's just a great drive option. When you have 20-minute drive, this should be the perfect thing that you can pop in the car and go. And then also we hope to create supplemental materials with each episode. There can be a craft, maybe there's another packet, maybe there's a word search, but each episode will come with lots of follow-up content in various forms. Maybe it's a book, lots of things we're discovering, but there's going to be hopefully a website where you can find all those wonderful extra materials that pair with each episode.
So like there's Hymns on the Square, there'll be Kids on the Square, all connected to the public square, because this is a place. It's not just a program.
Yeah. Is there a certain age that you're shooting for, Sarah?
Yeah, our age group is from 6 and up, but we're hoping that there'll be some jokes that land for each age group, and hopefully the parents out there will enjoy listening to it. It's not a program you're going to get a headache after listening to.
I will say, when my children were little, one of their highlights was Christopher Churchmouse.
Oh, yeah.
Barbara Duvall, and how she had printed books, but the audio tapes we would play in the car.
That's it.
And those little voices of the little church mice, teaching different character traits. Yeah. And I'm excited to have that concept then morph into historical context and having those easy to listen to, fun to listen to episodes that will just make it, can we put the tape on, Mom? Can we, that kind of a thing.
Yep.
So can we hit the app, Mom?
Yeah, I was going to say, do we use it? That was a flashback.
I'm so old. Yeah,
Wow,
I'm so
that
old
got
school.
me, didn't it?
I'm stuck in the 80s.
I registered that as well.
By the way, I found some cassette tapes of the first lecture series I did in 1986 with the American Policy Roundtable. We actually have them here at the American Mission Center.
They're probably crumbling by now, aren't they?
You were a kid on the square at that
point. Yeah, I'm afraid to take it off the shelf and open it up.
As soon as the air hits it, it just falls apart. Yeah.
So Christmas in America this year is the year 1928. How does Kids on the Square weigh in on 1928?
Oh, man. It was a wild time to be alive, number one, in whatever age you were, but especially as a child. There was some revolutionary technology that was happening, including the radio, including some of the first televisions. One of my favorite segments right now for this episode is we talk about the Steamboat Willie episode that had just happened in 1928 and how revolutionary the concept was to have sound and a cartoon at the same time.
Wow, think about that. 1928, kids for the very first time were seeing sound animated feature films, shorts, at the theater. Never seen them
see
before.
That Steamboat Willie dancing now,
Okay.
Can't you all?
The winner whistles the theme correctly. All right. So there's history.
Oh yeah.
There's history and application. So and we're hoping, Wayne, to work this in. This is news for you because as our co-host at Christmas in America,
I like to be surprised. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think we're writing this into the script right now to sort of premiere portion of Kids on the Square at Christmas in America coming
Perfect.
up. Thanksgiving weekend in Nashville, and then the following Saturday in December in Cleveland. There'll be 2 live shows again this year. Every year is unique. No show's ever been repeated. This is the 13th episode. And all the music is new each and every year. The artists are, if it's possible for them to get better, I got to tell you a story. The 2 of our artists were performing at the Grand Ole Opry the other night with 2 different acts. And they got together backstage and they were saying, you're doing Christmas in America this year, right? Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. What year is it? And there they are huddled behind stage at the Grand Ole Opry talking about 1928 and how excited they are to be a part of this show. And it just happens all the time. Well, it's such a family event that we've been working really hard to bring children's themes into this. Mm-hmm. And Sarah's husband, Jonah, is not only the producer for Kids on the Square. People don't know this, but this guy is a master puppeteer.
Yeah, Franklin, right?
Yeah.
Franklin was my nemesis
Frog.
last year.
He did Franklin Frog last year for Dickens.
Yeah.
And if you go back and you take a look at that video piece from last year, it's amazing. You would have thought it was done in Hollywood, and it's done right out of the Nashville shop, which is amazing.
So are there going to be puppets involved with Kids on the Square as well? Is that where we're...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I thought
Alan,
so.
come on, Alan. You knew that would happen.
I don't want to play all the cards just yet.
Okay.
You should come to Christmas in America 1928 or listen. But one of the wild connections we found where it's like, okay, Lord, we must have picked the right year. It must have been the year you wanted this year. The first ever... the Macy's Day Parade, it was the first time in 1928 that they ever had the balloons in the sky.
Really?
And that stemmed from a puppeteer named Tony Sarge. And he was a marionette puppeteer. And he had the idea of what if, with all these strings, we just put some helium in it? And I don't want to, there's more to that story and his genius. But yeah, puppets and balloons, big deal.
Oh, okay.
It gets better every year, Wayne, and the Lord brings wonderful, qualified people that are missionaries to America into the team, and the team is increased. I was watching the broadcast taping for some of this this weekend, and we were working here at the American Mission Center, and we had 3 generations in this studio of people who've been missionaries to America serving in this field, and they were there, and it was amazing. So this is a family event. It's a family affair. This is about what it means to be solid, genuine Christian people living in a real world with their feet squarely on the ground in the confidence that the Lordship of Jesus Christ covers any question with a real answer in the human experience, and translating that confidence to children by showing them in history where the Lord's been as we as people have come through to where we are today, and that he's always there. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, and that he has real answers to real questions. And so it is with great delight that we let our listening audience know, Christmas in America, God willing, there will be a debut of Kids on the Square. Yeah. Brought to you by Sarah and Jonah Jackson, new missionaries to America here. And of course, people are going to ask right away, well, what can they do to support? Pray, right?
Sure.
And this is a great project to give to. How much? Whatever the Lord tells you, because could there be a greater window of opportunity than to talk to the next generation?
That's cool. That's very cool. And I love how it fits into the American Mission Center as well. Past Christmas in America, what's the anticipated production schedule? What is your dream? Where's this headed, Sarah?
Well, this was our first weekend recording with the kids here, and it just set us on fire and excitement. And also, I lost some sleep thinking about how do we make this work? What's the next step? And so right now, it's very experimental, and that's a really joyous process. But the vision moving forward, we would love to get to a release of once a month. I think that's what we currently can do with certain ramifications like budgeting and things like that. But hopefully once a month and more from there on. If we can get 12 episodes out a year, I think that would be a really great success.
Sounds wonderful.
And people ask, well, what's an episode cost? The answer is we don't know yet. We've got budgets, we have projections, but it's sort of like each one is a unique a piece that you craft, you do it with as much as you have or as little as you have. The goal is to get across the finish line. And I know, Wayne, that the folks that are listening right now to the Public Square are saying, wow, this is music to our ears. We are so thrilled to understand that this is continuing to expand, that this place called the Public Squares is for all ages, and it is. And I honestly believe that we'll see in our lifetimes there are people who will be so taken by this that they will actually not only give and support this, but I believe our generous listening audience will want to endow a project like this. They'll literally want to give significant collected assets toward this dedicated fund for Kids on the Square so that this can continue to go on for the next generation.
Sounds fantastic. I'm glad we could talk about it today on the Public Square. You know how to reach us if you'd like to lend support. Thepublicsquare.com is a starting point. Sarah Jackson with us today. Sarah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
One way to start the Public Square this week, talking about Kids on the Square, an exciting new project. All right, we have Dave Zanotti here today, and Melanie Elsey, Rob Wolgate, Alan C. Duncan, and Jeff Sanders has joined us as well. Dave?
Wayne, I can remember studying a passage of Scripture. I was touched by it the first time I saw it, but I then can remember being in theological seminary and having a course on hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the study
Herman who?
Yeah. What does the text say?
Mm-hmm.
What does the text say? Because there's a lot of people who do a lot of preaching and they use the Scriptures, but they don't necessarily say what's in the Scriptures. They're kind of
they talk around it.
Using it as evidence for the point they wanted to make anyhow.
Exactly.
So this whole graduate level class was about how to break people of those habits of opinionating, opining, moralizing, and all of those sermonizing, and actually getting to the place of what is it that the text actually says. So this professor was very bold. He assigned a text, and he said, for the next X number of weeks, however long that semester class was, now I can't remember, your job is this text and this text only, and you will pass or fail this course based upon whether or not I'm convinced you actually found real meaning in the words and communicated that meaning.
Wow. Sounds like a challenge that Jeff would like.
Oh, Jeff. Yeah, Jeff would have snapped this one.
Give it to me.
And so we all had to go back to the Greek and the Hebrew and the Aramaic, and we had to go back and get very sober. And here's the passage that he chose. It's from the 18th chapter of Matthew. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus, saying, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Then Jesus called a little child to him, set him in the midst of them, and said, "Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me." And then he said, "Go." That was the professor said, "Go." Write and tell me what this means. Now, you had to get it in context, so you had to continue to read on. You had to read prior to this, and you had to read it. So all that question of context. Jesus goes on to say, "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of offense, for offenses must come. But woe to that man by whom the offense comes." And then Jesus goes on to tell the parable of the lost sheep. And then he goes on to talk about how much God cares for children, about those who are lost. And then he basically says, don't look down on these little ones, because their angels are always looking at my Father in heaven. The paramount importance of children in the teachings of Christ. Now, I did pass the class, but I will tell you something. And when he first gave me the assignment, I thought, I'm going to spend the next how many weeks studying this? Are you kidding me? And what I found is you write the first version, you write the second version. Somewhere around the third or fourth, you were permitted to submit your draft, at which point in time this professor bled red all over your paper. And you realized, wow, I don't think I got the message. He's lecturing and I'm thinking, and well, I think it was a tremendous, I've never recovered from that experience. What I learned there about how to not cheat the study, how to genuinely look and to be true to the text.
That's the kind of lesson you don't want to recover from.
No, you really don't. And one thing I did walk away from is this now happening. People say, what are your favorite Bible verses? I've got to have a lot of them, but this is one of them for sure. This one's in the top 10 because all the discussion that we hear about the word great and greatness and make America great again, when I look at it in the context of this, maybe what America needs is to be made childlike again. Mm-hmm. Because Jesus defines greatness as this little child. So what was it about this little child? This was one of the challenges we had in the text. Jesus calls that little child, has him come up and says, unless you change and you become like this little child, you by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. And this passage is quoted in another place as well, where it's clear that the child was small because Jesus literally picked the child up and put him in his lap. First he stood, and then he put him right on his lap.
Yeah, Greek word there, paideia.
Yes.
It just means a little kid.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean a toddler.
No, not an infant.
Or an infant. So, someone between 4 and 8 or 9, something like that.
And so Jesus, and he says, unless you become, now, and I said to myself, well, what did this kid do to be an example? Now, if we're going to be true to the text, what did the kid do? Is number one, he was available, right? Because when Jesus called, the kid answered. So he had to be within earshot, right?
And so he was well trained already to respond to an adult calling him, right?
And then he responded. He was available and he responded to the call of Christ. And then you know what else he did? Nothing. He let Jesus pick him up and put him on his lap. He put his trust in the hands of Christ and let Christ carry him, hold him, be with him. That's you study the text, that's all you can determine from the scripture. He was available, he responded, and he surrendered to the hands of Christ.
Right place, right time. How many times does Jesus put us right place, right time, but we don't adhere to the response of Christ?
We keep squirming off of his lap, right?
Or how many times do we get confused on what's really greatness and we miss his call because we're chasing something that we think is great, but reality is greatness is childlikeness?
Wouldn't it have been cool, though, to know a little bit more about the child?
Yeah. But then again, think of all the shrines that would have gone up in Israel if that was the case.
No, I don't mean, and in part, I'm thinking, because we just finished the interview with Sarah Jackson, and I'm thinking, I wonder if when he says be like a child, part of that is curiosity.
Yeah.
Willing to be a sponge when you know that you can trust the person that...
You know, one of the things I like about this is kids know that the world is bigger than them.
Yes.
And they're comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. They don't think they're now going to conquer the universe. They may play superheroes in their minds, but they know the world is big.
I think it's important to draw a distinction between being childlike and childish.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Because throughout the epistles, the Apostle Paul tells us to grow up and to be mature.
Right.
And to be able to handle certain things and to not throw temper tantrums. And to not squeal and be demanding, but to be childlike is to have simple trust, to believe. Yeah, innocence.
Think of innocence.
Yeah. Along that same lines, kids, at least my kids, they ask a question, and I think we've said this before, but they ask a question, they expect a good answer from you. Right. They're not asking gotcha questions. They're not trying to prove a point. It's not passive aggressive. When they ask, they really think there's going to be an answer.
It's genuine curiosity.
Whoever humbles himself like this child, Jesus called, the child answered. There's a genuineness about saying, I don't know the answer. I sincerely am asking the question because I don't know.
And you might know.
And you might know.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to authority, and even biblical authority, children are they understand authority. As adults, I think sometimes we look at authoritarian structure, whether it's in employment or whether it's in whatever we want to think of, law enforcement, and we don't like authority over us in any capacity.
We like authority when they're enforcing the law on somebody else, but not on us, right?
Well, Jesus goes on in this passage to say, take heed that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. Well, that is, and then he goes on to say, for the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. This take heed verse and the paramount importance, Jesus says, you'd be better off to put a millstone around your neck and jump into the deepest sea than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. What does that tell us about God's priority upon innocent life, upon the preciousness of childhood, upon the importance of making certain that the children that God places in our care or in our environment or in our communities, that we understand God cares about them a lot. Now, it would be a stretch. I'd get red ink on this from a hermeneutic perspective to say that God cares about children more than anybody else. That's not what the text tells us.
No.
But it sure tells us God cares a lot.
Would it be safe to say he cares about them in a unique way or a special way for them?
I think that's a logical conclusion, because I don't see anywhere else where we talk about their angels looking at the face of God always. I mean, this is like a very interesting connection here. It's very significant. Now, it's important for us to mention this, because people have been asking us, you all are so obsessed right now. You're so focused on the question of innocent human life in regards to the question of abortion across the nation. And perhaps some people would misunderstand that we think this is a political battle. Of course, it's taking place in the realm of the American political structure, the structure of governance. That's undeniable. But this is not a concern that comes from the desire for power or the desire for one party or the other to prevail, or for stalking for a candidate. It's not like you have to go get your card punched, your pro-life card punched. This comes from the very ethic of the heart of Christ and what he has to say about children.
I hate to interrupt, Dave, but we do need to take a break. It's such an important point. Let's come right back to it in a moment here on the Public Square.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
Well, we had to interrupt at a crucial point a few moments ago here in the Public Square, but that was necessary as well. We're back with you now as we talk about our valuing children. Jesus certainly valued children, valued them for who they are, not who they will be necessarily, although he did that as well, didn't he, Dave?
And this is the driving force behind why we are a pro-life organization and why we are so concerned about what's going on in the country about the life issue. Now, if someone's a brand new listener, they're going to say, okay, well, perhaps I'm concerned as well. Tell me more. But for folks that have been listening faithfully with us week after week after week, we have been on this because we're in the midst now of a project where voting has already begun in the state of Ohio. So if you wanted to know when the election of 2024 begins, it actually began. It began the day voting started in the state of Ohio on Ohio Issue 1, because the forces that intend to win the 2024 election actually intend to win it based on abortion being one of their key, if not their key issue. And so candidates that are pro-abortion, for them, the election started because this is how they plan to drive their 2024 campaign. They believe that there is a winning wedge issue in abortion, that it will bring certain groups of voters to their party and their affiliation, and it will cause them to win both the House, the Senate, and the White House. So the election of 2024 began. It will continue right after. It keeps right on rolling. November 7th in Ohio is Election Day. On November 8th, you can rest assured that that train will move to Florida and to Arizona and to New York, and will continue right on through, and then more states the whole way up. So this has always been a national strategy by the pro-abortion community. They view what happened in the Dobbs decision as something like a tidal wave of change that hit the nation. Now, that tidal wave certainly put their economic engines in serious trouble, because they make money from abortion pills and chemicals. They make money from services related around to reproductive decisions in that regard. And they viewed the Dobbs decision as very dangerous for their ability to keep making a living.
And the reality is their fundraising emails are already written for November 8th, 2023, no matter the outcome of the Ohio election. Because if the abortion amendment passes It will be help us take this
victory on to 2024. Yes. And if they lose?
And if they lose, it's going to be, we have to regroup and show that we're serious and elect pro-abortion candidates all across this country. So those emails are already written. It's just which one are they going to send?
So along the line of the Ohio example, we got something in the mail. A number of us got something in the mail that live in Ohio. I have the blessing of being able to live in more than one place because of the 3 offices we have. Sometimes people think I live on the American freeway because we go back and forth between the Orlando office and the Tennessee office and the Ohio office at the American Mission Center. But a number of our staff that live in Ohio brought in a mailing. All right. And it's an 8.5 by 11 mailing. There it is, Wayne. You can take a look right there. Mm-hmm. And even through the camera of you linking in with us today remotely, you can see on the screen, this is a picture of a doctor. Now, this doctor is not smiling. The first piece reads, as a pediatrician, it's my job to protect children. We must vote yes on issue 1.
Stop right there.
How does that
That has
work?
to be aimed at people who haven't read the issue.
Okay. Go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead. You're the farthest distance from Ohio. Go ahead.
Just based on what you just said, that doesn't make any sense.
Issue 1 enshrines the unlimited right to abortion.
So how does that protect children?
Into the wait, no, she answers that question.
Notice we're all kind of staggering in disbelief right now.
So the government's abortion ban won't stop me from doing my job.
Of what? Killing
it didn't get
children
any better.
in the womb.
She answered your question, but that didn't satisfy anything, did it? This is the whole front page of this 8.5 by 11 full color flyer right here.
I want to say something about a millstone, but I'll hold back.
Pediatricians treat children who are
alive
and after they've been born.
Yeah, right.
Last time I checked, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this is, even their explanation on there makes absolutely no sense.
I mean,
who would that appeal to?
People who haven't read the bill
or
the
people
language.
Who can't think?
The amendment. So let's turn it on the back page. To be fair, my patients should make their medical decisions with their families, not the government, says Dr. Bean, parent and pediatrician in Ohio. My patients should make well, first off, your patients are children.
They made it out of the womb alive.
You're a pediatrician, but it's okay. But let's say now her patients are now the women, I guess. My patients should make their medical decisions with their families, not the gun. Unless she's, wait a minute, is she talking about the transgender question?
That's a medical decision that falls under the amendment with but not limited to.
This isn't about abortion.
This is about trans
is
procedures.
Her job helping her patients to go ahead and that's her job to switch genders. And that is significantly touched upon in the amendment. It's in there in the way that the amendment in Ohio is written.
Mm-hmm.
So is that okay? Now, Ohio's extreme ban, I'm reading on, prevents Ohioans from getting an abortion even when the unthinkable happens. Well, that's not true.
Right.
The laws in Ohio don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we talked to Abby Johnson about that at length.
Issue 1 is a reasonable, common sense solution that blocks the ban and sorry, all of us had to laugh out loud. I'm sorry, because we've read this thing. It's like reasonable. It's the most one-sided dictatorial document I've ever read.
Common sense is the phrase they always throw in there when it doesn't make any sense at all.
Is she perhaps talking about teenagers that get pregnant out of wedlock? Is that what she's talking about? I'm going to help procure abortions for teens.
Okay, there you go. That's possible too. Sure. Issue, that's right, is a reasonable common sense solution that blocks the ban and restores the rights we had for generations. There's no ban. There's no ban.
No ban.
Right now in Ohio, if a person needs a medical emergency, the abortion is available there. And insurance policies pay for it.
I don't want to be the attack the media guy, but this doctor put her image and her name on a flyer that went to voters in Ohio. What are the chances that a member of the media will call her and ask her to defend that position or clarify what she was trying to get across? Because shouldn't we hear from her if she's going to put those vague comments and quotes on there, have her explain her position?
Well, vote yes on issue 1 to ensure that doctors can help their patients when the unthinkable happens. There's a new term. Stop the dangerous ban that would outlaw abortion with no exceptions. There's no ban. Take government out of our most personal decisions. Take government out of our most
They
personal
want
decisions.
government to pay for everything.
5 new human rights that they're putting in the constitutional amendment. Government's going to be all the more involved. Vote yes on issue 1 by November 7th. Check the facts. Okay, now, all right, here we go. There it is. Wow. By the way, did you all notice that the word constitutional amendment doesn't appear anywhere on this flyer?
Yeah.
A huge omission.
I also noticed nowhere does she say go and read the whole thing.
No, she not at all. Not at all.
Which obviously is available at seethelanguage.com.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can go read the language.
So this is Wayne. Go ahead. Can you believe this, Wayne?
I'm dumbfounded. I really am. How those statements could be made by any thinking person. But there they are in print, right? You got to stir it up, Dave. We have one more segment to go to talk about it. Some of you have to leave us now. If that's the case, make sure you tune into the rest of this broadcast at thepublicsquare.com. Okay, we've caught our breath, and this is the Public Square. Dave Zanotti's here, along with Melanie Elsey, Rob Wolgate, Jeff Sanders, and Alan C. Duncan, and I really do mean that. I mean, it was breathtaking what you read a few moments ago, Dave.
And I tell you, people in Ohio are really worked up. And get ready, because it's coming to Florida, it's coming to Arizona, it's coming across the country. This kind of deception, and of all things, a pediatrician.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of back when the cigarette industry used to have doctors advertising for cigarettes.
Yeah.
Though these are the ones that I smoke.
In a nationwide survey, doctors in all branches of medicine were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?"
Oh, it helps in digestion.
Refreshing.
Where's the
just
Marlboro man when you need him?
Imagine the folks that are advocating for the yes vote are talking like government's the bad guy, yet in every other issue they talk about, they view government as the solution. When it comes to health care, when it comes to vaccines, when it comes to what you should be doing with your children, every other instance, they talk about government being the solution to the problem. Now, all of a sudden, they run commercials with the American flag, and they talk about government being the bad guy and trying to get into your doctor's office. I'm like, you've been trying to get in my doctor's office forever.
Well, and it also misses the point of who the government is in our country. It's supposed to be we the people.
At the state level of the Constitution, we the people, we wrote this Constitution. We're obligated to ratify a change.
This entire amendment would exclude the participation of the legislative branch. Completely forbids them from participating on any level on any of these issues, and the but not limited to is anything in the future that they can dream up.
And Melanie's got a chart that she's created. It shows that at least 50 laws that are on the books right now in Ohio that are statutes would basically be on a train wreck collision course with this new constitutional amendment. It would literally turn 50 laws upside down. And there's not even a thought of that, not even a mention of that train wreck that's coming.
An example, Revised Code 9.041, it is the public policy of the state of Ohio to prefer childbirth over abortion to the extent that it is constitutionally possible. There you go. That one gets upended.
Goodbye.
Wow.
Well, goodbye.
And that one's easy. That one's there's the ones.
Another one is informed consent required for abortion. Oh, that one's a
That
goodbye.
one's gone.
See you later.
Yeah.
24-hour wait required before performing an abortion so the pregnant woman can be given informational materials. Oh,
and every one of those measures has been designed to protect the health of informed consent of patients from not being manipulated by the abortion industry. Those protections disappear as well. So, we've talked about this at length. If you were with us last week, and if you missed last week's episode, you've got to go back and listen to Abby Johnson from And Then There Were None. Abby Johnson, who is basically wrote the book Unplanned, who is the key principal player in the movie Unplanned, who shows you on the ground what it really looks like in that industry and how they take advantage of people across the board. And of course, the thing about this that is so amazing is this entire conversation is as if the child doesn't matter at all. We have completely forgotten that there's a second set of rights. You say, well, that's a religious belief. Yes, it is a religious belief. It's also a scientific belief.
Scientific fact.
And a scientific fact. And it's also a historical reality. Cultures for thousands of years have recognized that this is a subject of balancing rights because there are two sets of rights involved. We've seen recent stories where there have been shootings where the mother perished, the child survived, or the child perished and the mother survived. And if you're in a situation where there's a shooting and the infant dies and the mother survives, you are guilty of a crime.
In California, you are guilty of murder. If you kill a child in the womb, if you shoot that mother and the child dies.
We also have laws in Ohio, not to that extent, but where the criminal is also charged with a crime if the baby in the womb is harmed or died.
And this goes back to ancient Israeli law in the time of Moses. I mean, this has been a part of culture for thousands and thousands of years. And so this is, I'll tell you, Wayne, this is something that when you think about the teachings of Jesus, you just can't wave a wand and make this disappear into a one-sided argument, and that's what we're confronted with. So what can people do? Well, first off, I want to report to you that what people have been doing has been incredibly effective. The work that we've been doing here with seethelanguage.com has now reached, by mail alone in the state of Ohio, through USPS mailings, we've now reached over 2 million households. Now, there's going to be about 3.5 million people vote when this is all said and done by November
7th. Election day, November 7th.
And the
early voting started October 11th.
It's already going on right now.
And I was encouraged driving through Ohio recently to see many, many no signs, no on issue one.
So this is going on right now. And we've already reached 2 million households by mail and showed them the actual language through seeingthelanguage.com. But the other numbers are also off the charts. We posted an excerpt of last week's broadcast with Abby Johnson. We posted it online and we promoted it. And in 2 days, it had over 400,000 views in the state of Ohio.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. The video that we've been talking about, the 6-minute video on what does issue 1 do, it's already got over 500,000 views. All right. So we're talking about reaching now millions of people. None of that would be possible except for the prayers of people around this country and from people who have said, I can do something today in Ohio. I'll do it next year in Florida and in Arizona and New York. I'm in for this fight across the nation, who have helped us get this ball rolling. And I want to tell you, your prayers and your financial contributions are making a tremendous impact.
As the battle moves from Ohio to other states, Ohioans will be engaged in helping their family members in those other states know what's going on and be informed and can vote correctly. This is a collective effort to get
I was
these
thinking,
states.
Melanie, this reminds me of Sam Adams and the committees of correspondence.
Exactly.
How Sam Adams and his friends would have to go out state by state by state and explain, this is what's happening in Boston right now. This is what's happening in Massachusetts. This is coming to you if we don't unite together and work together. And that's how it was the committees of correspondence that kept the flame of liberty alive, people talking to people across, at that time, colonial boundaries. Now it's state boundaries.
And they didn't have the internet. They didn't have social media. We can use those tools to accomplish a very important purpose at this time.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be fun, as this comes up in other states, if some of our listeners took the language proposed in those states and did what you all did with seethelanguage.com?
Well, when we plan to be there to help, Wayne.
It'd be fun to have that as a homework assignment, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it really would. It's a lot easier than that Matthew 18 homework assignment I had for a semester. But yes, it's essential, and that's what we're planning on doing. All of this is building and it's adding.
Yeah, we envision, Wayne, seethelanguage.com will be a place you can go and look at the languages being proposed in those states for 2024. And
Good.
They will have the red ink all over them as well.
Yeah. But it teaches people how to think.
It does. And it causes folks to realize that words matter.
Well, and the other confusing part is when you get a summary, when you walk into the voting booth, you see a 1-paragraph summary that may not have all the details in the actual language. So to see the language, that's the piece that's going to end up in that state's constitution. Yeah. There's another issue, too, in Ohio, is an initiated statute on marijuana. That's a 46-page bill. They're not going to put that in the voting booth. They're going to put a 2-paragraph summary.
So, Wayne, we've been doing this online with voter information since 1998. So by God's grace, the people have been supporting us from way back then. because we started on the radio in 1989, and we started with online voting information in 1998. This has all been adding up to moments such as this. I cannot tell you how important it is for the people who pray for us and who give. We had a lady call us the other day, and I know we got to be done with this broadcast, but she called us the other day and said, I can't give you my $5 a month anymore. I've had some financial downturns, et cetera. She literally called to apologize because she couldn't give us $5 a month anymore.
Yeah.
And on the phone, we prayed with her, and we've been praying for her. This is the kind of tender-hearted, beautiful human being that is trying to help preserve the innocent life of children around the country. And we're privileged to serve with you in that goal.
And there may be many listening who could step up and replace that $5 donation themselves. So thank you all very, very much for a very informative program here today. Of course, we hope you'll share this program with others. The easiest way to do that is with the smartphone app. Recommend that free app to anyone, or use the website, thepublicsquare.com. For the team here, I'm Wayne Shepherd. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
The Public Square is a broadcast service of the American Policy Roundtable.